All right. And sitting down with us on the podcast today, fresh off a March Madness run, we have Louisville Cardinals freshman guard, Merissah Russell. Merissah, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, obviously, back from your team's run to the Elite Eight, I guess a good place to start would obviously be, what have the last few weeks been like for you and your teammates heading into March Madness and the bubble and quarantines and all the things that go into pulling off such a huge event?
For sure, the last few weeks have been crazy. They went by so fast, just kind of looking back at it. But like you said, I've been doing it with my teammates. We've seen each other every day for the past 10 months since June 7th, since I went to Louisville, Kentucky. So we've been through it all. Lots of COVID testing every day. So we were just lucky that we didn't get any flare-ups during the most critical time of our season, which we're so blessed to have. So yeah, it was very hectic. Every day presented a new opportunity, and like I said, we're just happy that we didn't get any COVID flare-ups in the postseason. And obviously, we didn't finish the way we wanted to, but we did get pretty far, and we obviously hoped to win the whole entire thing. But we had a great experience, and I wouldn't replace it with anything.
Yeah. And what even was sort of the day-to-day life like at the tournament itself? Like, was it fairly strict lockdowns? Like, here's your team's floor, you can't go anywhere other than to games, or could you sort of move around a little bit? Like, what was life like at the actual event?
So basically, in the first couple rounds, it was 64, 32 teams. It was a little bit more strict. We had a whole floor to ourselves in terms of the athletes had a floor of the hotel, and then our coaching staff had another floor, and nobody could access it except us. We were able to go outside for walks. Like we walked to the convention center for our COVID tests, which took about an hour, and then we would walk to the same convention center for our practice. So we were able to kind of get outside. It was beautiful that I was in Texas, so the weather was very nice. But that was our kind of like free outdoor time. So we tried to walk as slow as possible to kind of get in everything we could. We were also lucky to have a hotel with a balcony on it, so that was another way of getting some fresh air. But like you said, we were only able to go out, like I said, for COVID testing and practice. So other than that, we were in the hotel room, and we got there about 3-4 days prior to the tournament. So those 3 days, I think 2 of them were in quarantine, and then practicing leading up to our first game. So all we did was leave for COVID and practice, and then we were in the hotel room doing our homework, watching film, eating together as a group after we are out of quarantine, and basically that. And we were so lucky to have Vanessa Shannon, our mental coach. She was able to compile some puzzles, word searches, and stuff like that, just to keep us from going crazy in the bubble. So
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, nothing can sort of prepare you for a COVID March Madness there. But
exactly.
what were some of the things that maybe some of the older players on the team, because you being a freshman, this is sort of your first experience there, as far as the actual atmosphere and the grind of it's a single elimination tournament, like what did
Yeah.
some of the older players sort of do to help prepare the freshmen on the team?
Well, it definitely told us how the experience was different, right? So, in the regular year, non-COVID year, we would probably host our the first two rounds at our own school, and then move on from there. But they were just kind of encouraging us. Like I said, we've been together every day for 10 months, so we became closer as friends, as teammates. So they were just helping us get through it, making sure that everybody's mentally prepared, mentally in shape, and that includes schoolwork, and being in touch with your family, just making sure that you're just in the right mental space to play, because it's very hard to quarantine for a week or just practice and stuff and then get right back up and play. So, and like you said, it's a single elimination tournament. So anytime you choose not to show up or somebody doesn't show up or 2-3 people don't show up, you lose. And that's the end of the season, right? So I thought our leaders on the team were very good at keeping us kind of focused in the bubble.
Yeah. So you got to experience 4 games this time in March Madness there. You had games against Marist, Northwestern, Oregon, and then Stanford. Which one sticks out to you the most, or what do you remember the most about your freshman year in the actual tournament?
Yeah, I think the whole tournament itself, all 4 games brought a different opportunity. Every team was amazing. It's hard to play a team that you've never played before, and you use that scout from the regular season to play them. And before the tournament, you have 2-3 weeks to prepare. So people are adding in different plays, different defenses, and stuff like that. So it's hard to prepare for any team. But I think our Oregon and Stanford game was pretty intense. we had to prepare a lot for our Oregon game because we're not as big as Oregon and Stanford. So kudos to our coaching staff because we did a lot of scouting, a lot of film watching, a lot of practicing and stuff like that. And our practice team helping us through the plays that they run and having to get us prepared. And like I said, it's tough because what our coach describes the NCAA tournament as is 3 2 games tournaments. So basically you play, for us, we played Sunday, Tuesday. So you have a week to prepare for Sunday, and then you have a day to prepare for Tuesday, right? So it's pretty cutthroat. And like I said, if you make one mistake, if you don't show up that one game, you lose. So it was very intense. But like I said, kudos to our coaching staff because they made sure that we were prepared for each game. And it's a lot of information you have to do, adding on to your schoolwork, adding on to being homesick, adding on to, just being in the bubble and everything that comes with it, right? So that's basically what we had to deal with.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you guys ultimately ended up getting eliminated by Stanford, who would go on to win the whole tournament
Yeah.
themselves. When you were watching that game and being actually involved in it, was there anything that stood out to you that they just did better than anyone in the country? Was there any facet to their game, whether it was their 3-point shooting, their defending, their transition game, or was it just that they were the most complete team this year?
Yeah, like I said, I think that they were big. They're big at every position, and they were pretty deep. Ashton Prechtel came on and lit everybody up, which we obviously had her on our scouting report, but we didn't expect her to go 6 for 6 from the field and 1 for 2. She came in and changed the game, so that was pretty crazy. But I think we hung in there. We were actually up by 12 at halftime, so that was kind of heartbreaking to lose that, but they're a great team, but I think we are as well. And if we get the opportunity again, I think we'll come out victorious. And that's just being confident in my team and my teammates and my coaching staff and the work that we put in all year. But they are a pretty big team and they're very skilled. So kudos to them. And I'm very happy that they're able to win it all.
Yeah. And obviously, aside from the basketball, one of the major storylines that obviously went across headlines from coast to coast there was when Sedona Prince ended up just putting the videos out there of all the differences between meal plans, the weight rooms, the swag bags, the everything. So while all this was going viral, like what's going through yours and your teammates' heads as this is sort of grabbing national headlines and you guys are actually directly involved with it?
Yeah, for sure. It was crazy to be like, to walk into practice and you walk past the weight room and it's actually just 6 weights and like 12 yoga mats. It was crazy. But in the end, I think we're all just kind of grateful that we were able to play in NCAA during a pandemic. Obviously, it's not the conditions that we wanted, not the food that we wanted, that was ideal. But it's what we got in a pandemic, So we are grateful that we were even playing the game of basketball during a global pandemic. Thankfully, the NCAA was able to kind of fix everything in a very short period of time. And we were able to get a full weight room, be able to book time slots and stuff like that. So it was very good for that. They were very good for that and being able to turn everything around very quickly. But it's amazing just to see how social media can impact so much, right? Just TikTok or Instagram changed, and NCAA was forced to change everything within 24 hours, which they did. And then you see different companies like Dick's Sporting Goods saying like, we're loading a truck, we're coming your way type of thing, right? So it just goes to show, and it's just cool to see that people are really in support of women's basketball. And that support system and those viewerships are going upwards, which is really good.
Yeah. And, like you just said, probably record-setting viewerships this year. Everything's sort of trending up. So we're slowly going in the right direction with the women's basketball there, but still a long way to go, obviously.
Exactly.
And you've been involved in a variety of levels, everything from a prep high school program to the national team experience, now a high major, Div 1 school. So you can kind of speak from experience. If you had a magic wand, it could sort of make 1 or 2 things change. Like, what is it that needs to still evolve? Is it the funding towards the women's game? Is it media coverage? Like, what do you sort of think needs to take that next step?
Definitely. I think that what you said, media coverage and funding is very important. I think viewership, just getting the word out, as young girls, when I was younger, I watched the NBA and I wanted to be like LeBron James. I wanted to be like Kevin Durant. But nowadays, young girls could watch TV and watch the WNBA. So just having those platforms to watch women's basketball, NCAA tournament, women's and WNBA is just a huge start. I think that we can get it much more viewership and much more platforms. But I think though, just having that, being able to, it's 21st century, everybody's watching TV, everybody's on their phones, on Instagram, on their iPads, on something. So just having that, being able to be shown and just have representation at every level is just amazing. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean even playing basketball. There's female referees. There's administrative positions that you can have. You don't have to be an athlete to be be a big headlines women's basketball player and like that. There's so many different positions that you can grasp, but we don't know that, right? We haven't seen that. So just having representation and having social media platforms and different TV carriers and stuff like that, just broadcast those things. So I think that's what we're missing.
Yeah.
We could get better at.
Yeah, and you hit on a good point there too, because obviously another headline was that the Raptors had an all-female broadcast crew with Kia Nurse
Exactly.
and all of them, and that's a good time. So, well, it's a good thing for it to be a one-time thing, but moving forward, that needs to be more of the norm. So, is that sort of that next step? Is it's not just a okay, look at this one-time event spectacle.
Mhm.
It's more of incorporating it and actually ingraining it into the culture then.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So looking ahead to next season, you guys are a young team, right? You got
Yeah.
5 of 12 of you are either freshmen or redshirted, and you're only graduating one senior player.
Mhm.
So, what excites you the most about this Louisville team going into next year, and where do you think you guys can go?
Like you said, we're a young team and we only lost one player, so we're very close. We know each other's styles of play, so we're able to all come back from last season. Our coach even said when we lost to Stanford, he said, look at them celebrating." It's like it's gonna hurt, it's gonna sting, but use that." So, like you said, 5 out of 12 of us are underclassmen, so we're bringing that experience from an NCAA tournament because coming into this past NCAA tournament, only Dana Evans and Mikasa Robinson played in a Louisville jersey in the NCAA tournament. So just coming back with that experience and having that year just to gel together and train together and just know the competitive environment we want and the culture we want as a team, I think that's huge. And obviously we're getting freshmen coming in. We have a couple of transfers coming in. So just to carry on that culture and hopefully come back and win a national championship.
Yeah. Speaking of seniors, so Dana Evans had a tremendous year for you guys there and was nominated for all sorts of awards and actually just declared for the WNBA draft. So
Mhm.
if you're going to put on sort of your hype person outfit here, or you're her agent and you're trying to sell her to a WNBA team, what are you telling teams that they're getting out of her as a player if they are to draft her? Like, what are they getting?
For sure. Dana knows I'm her number one fan. She's not only just speaking about her as a player, but as a person, she's an amazing person. She cares about everybody. She's a true competitor through and through. So she's going to make sure that everybody around her that's going to work with her is ready to go because she is going to win no matter what. So she's a great competitor. Basketball wise, she's quick. She's skilled. She has great court vision, great IQ, great leadership skills. She opens her mouth and she tells us where to go. Maybe I told you she's very competitive. So she's going to yell at you and tell you where to go, but she knows what she's doing. She's put in the work over the 4 years. And like you said, she's earned all these awards, but she's truly earned it. She is put in the work, blood, sweat, and tears. And just to meet her and see her what she's done in 1 year, it's just crazy just to see that, have that leader to follow. And like I said, she's a great leader and she leads by example, not only by, just her words and everything like that, but like I said, she's a great person and she deserves everything she's ever gotten because man, she's amazing. Like I said, I'm her number one fan, so I can go on for days about Dana, but
Yeah.
she's just awesome.
Beautiful. If you were going to compare her to either a WNBA player or an NBA player there, what sort of skill set does she bring to the table?
Man, I can't just pick one player. I think that like I said, she's got a quickness to her. She knows how to change her pace. She's got a great shot. Shoot the three ball, shoot the pull up. She can finish at the rim, even though she's smaller than smaller than her defenders. She can still get the ball. She's strong. She can just do whatever she wants. You know what I'm saying? And then on the other side of the ball, great defender. Like I said, she uses that quickness. She could stay on the ball, get in the ball, disrupt the ball handler. So I just think she's a great all around player. So I can't even choose one player to compare her to. She's just that great.
There you go. She might need to bring you on as a
I
player
know.
there. You're doing a good job of selling her. I love it. For any high school basketball players that are listening right now, speaking from your own experience, transitioning from high school to a high major college Div 1 program, what was the biggest learning curve or something adjustment you needed to make to get to that next level and really feel comfortable?
I think just switching that focus a lot faster, in terms of you have to get organized, with school, with your social life, with basketball, and make sure that when you're in basketball, it's about basketball. When you're in school, it's about school. Just like that, and just kind of making sure that your focus is in the right place at all times, because you don't really have time, like I said, to make slip ups, to do so, because you have to make sure your coach has trust in you to be able to put you on the floor, and stuff like that. Because like I said, you play a game within a day, within 2 days. You need to know your stuff. You need to know the plays. You need to know the scouting report, and you need to prove that day in, day out, right? So just being able to focus on basketball when you're in basketball, focus on school when you're in school, and keep everything at the high level is probably the most difficult thing, but the most rewarding thing as well once you get it all together.
Yeah. And obviously, when you're a NCAA Div 1 player, you're probably used to being one of the more talented players on your team, all the way from, age 5 or whenever you started getting involved in basketball, all the way through high school and all that. You get to this
Yeah,
big campus, and suddenly you're on a team full of all of the best players that were always the greatest.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
too. How do you sort of navigate that and no longer being sort of quote unquote the player that they're always going to go to in crunch time, and
Mhm.
sort of accepting that role, and especially being a freshman, maybe even having a coaching staff that's making you earn things rather than everything being handed to you on a platter.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that helped you transition making that jump?
Like you said, accepting that role. I think you have to be realistic. Like we talked about Dana Evans, walking into practice on the first day and watching her train and watching her basically weave through everybody. You kind of have to step back and be realistic about yourself and think, okay, what do I have to put into in the lab to get better? What do I need to do? And you have these great upperclassmen that have gone through it already, right? So you'd be crazy not to listen to their story and watch how they train and stuff like that, right? But yeah, just coming in and just making sure that I listen to the coaching staff and listen to everything, because they know the formula, right? So listening to them, putting in the work, it takes extra work, right? So just doing all those little things. And everybody always says that the biggest thing I've heard all year was everybody's on their own journey. Everybody's on their own journey. There's girls that go the best from freshman year to senior year. There's girls that peak in junior year. Everybody has their own journey. So just kind of keeping that mindset and just working as hard as you can whenever you have the opportunity is probably the biggest thing that I've kind of taken away from this year.
Yeah. And you did such a good job at selling Dana there. We'll let you try and sell Louisville as a program here. For those
Uh,
that are listening who are either, considering taking a scholarship offer to come to Louisville or transferring or anything like that, what have you enjoyed the most about your first year there down in Kentucky?
Yeah, no, obviously it's been a global pandemic. So just the family aspect of everything. No matter what, I know that Coach Walls and the whole entire coaching staff have my back. They were able to invite me to their home, obviously social distancing, for dinners, for obviously I didn't come home for Christmas, which is something that I've never done before. So just celebrating with them and being invited to people's houses, just the family aspect, and then the competitiveness. We're gonna go to war at practice every day, but at the end of the day, we're gonna give each other a high five, whatever, drive each other home, and we reset. We want everybody to be as the best we can. Like I said, Dana, make sure that when like practice is the hardest thing, but because when we get into the game, it's easier. So it's that culture that we've created. So I think that, man, I don't know where else you would want to go. It's a great school. We have great support staff. Like I said, we have a mental coach. We have great strength training coaches, therapy staff. Like we just have anything you need to get better and make sure that when we get on the floor, we're 100% or we're competing the best we can. So I think that it's a great place to be, and we have a great fan base. Even though we were only able to have 2,500 to 3,000 fans, it felt like there were 10,000, and everybody was supporting us. And no matter if that was from home, watching the games from their living room and stuff like that, but still supporting us, still donating to our program and stuff like that. So our fan base is what makes us go. So I think we have the best fan base in the country. So that's a huge sell too. And everybody knows who you are. When you walk through Louisville and everybody's like, oh, aren't you on the women's basketball team? I'm like, yes, sir, I am. We're rooting for you. We got your back. And it's just an amazing atmosphere around here, around there, I should say.
Well, I know you're doing like an exercise and physiology degree. Are you sure you're not having a future in marketing or sales here? Because
I
you're,
know, right? I was thinking about taking a couple classes just to see maybe some broadcasting classes like that. We have a great broadcasting program at Louisville, so
yeah,
ESPN studio right across our gym. So
yeah. Well, there
uh,
you go.
another selling factor.
Amazing. Well, Merissah, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today. And we wish you all the luck with not only your off-season training, but the upcoming year as well too. But we'll let you go because we know that although March Madness might be done, you've still got a few classes you got to wrap up and exams
Exactly.
and all that as well too.
Exactly. Thank you so much for having me.